Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here with you all to talk about my new couples therapy flip chart. We're going to be talking about the different sections that I've included in this flip chart. And then I want to go over with you some of the ways that you can utilize this with your clients. Before we do that, I wanted to talk about why I was really excited to write this flip chart. When I was first working with couples, something that would often happen to me is that I would be in session and I would recognize a dynamic that was happening in the session, but I wouldn't know what I needed to do in that moment. And so, what I always wished for was that I had like a little folder of worksheets or things that I could show to the couple to help me out in those moments. And I didn't really have those things. So I would search, I would Google for all of these different manipulatives that I could use and print them out and keep them at my side. But it was always kind of like an inexact science. So when I started creating this, I wanted to make something where most of the things that you're going to see in the couples therapy session are in this book. So, whether you're a new therapist or you've been working with couples for many, many, many years, you can utilize this as a tool while you're working with your couples to help them understand concepts that can be hard to describe or to help them do activities within the session or take screenshots of things, or not screenshots, I guess, but pictures of things in the book that they can take home with them so they can remember what you went over in session. So when you go into this flip chart, it's really cool. You're going to go into this first section, and this is the table of contents. And the four sections that I put in here are understanding each other, managing conflict, creating a secure relationship, and daily life. The reason I chose these four sections is because these are the things, these are the areas that I see couples need help with when they're coming into the therapy room. So, one of the first things that's really, really, really important when couples come in and they're unhappy in their relationship, as we know as therapists and couples therapists, is understanding each other. Often they become so myopic within the conflict that they only see their point of view and they really struggle to understand the other person's point of view. So, in this understanding each other section, I've included different how you talk to couples about their relationship phases. So, how you can talk to them about the differences from when they first met to maybe the phase that they're in at that moment, which might be the tension phase where they're starting to recognize differences, they're kind of letting each other down, they're disappointing each other. And then talking to them about how important it is to get to acceptance. This doesn't mean that we don't grow and change and learn new ways of being with each other. But what it does mean is that the couple learns how to accept their differences and understand their differences so that they can learn to negotiate better. In the understanding each other section, there's a lot of different areas that you want to help your couples to understand about each other. So, another big area is about life philosophies. If you work with couples, if you work with individuals who are talking about their partners, what you probably know is that they come in and they have differences in the ways that they think about things. So, for example, they might think differently about how to spend money, they might think differently about sex, about how to navigate time with their families, their in laws. And because of these differences, they get what John Gottman calls gridlocked. And they can't move past that gridlocked until they understand the different philosophy they each have. And so sometimes we go too quickly with the couple. We try to help them to come up with their strategies or their compromises or whatever it is to navigate, let's say, money before they understand and can empathize with each other's differences. So, the life philosophies sheet within this flip chart is really helpful because you can point out to couples this is normal. There's so many different philosophies in life. And of course, you're going to have different philosophies. Why don't you look over this checklist and let's talk about these different philosophies. Let's understand each other so that you can create outcomes that work for you both. The second section is the managing conflict section. And in this is all the stuff that we kind of think of when we're looking at couples therapy, but this is talking to couples about communication styles, conflict mapping. So when I do this, they do this. And the reason I do this is because of X, Y, and Z. Self soothing, helping them come up with communication guidelines, helping them know about what the four horsemen are, repair and de escalation, and then how to have conversations about hard things. So that's all in that managing conflict section. The next section, which is creating a secure relationship, is all about helping couples to understand their ultimate goal, which is not to eliminate conflict, not to eliminate differences, but it's to create a secure relationship. Functioning relationships aren't about things being perfect all the time and people always agreeing and nobody ever losing their cool. Secure relationships are about feeling like you can rely on your partner, that your partner has your best interest at heart. And even when things are hard, you know that they are there for you. And so, in this creating secure relationship section, there are different parts of creating a secure relationship that you can go over with your couple. Whether it's really talking to them about what it means to build a secure relationship, talking to them about the concept of windows and walls, talking to them about boundaries versus control and triangulation. And then last but not least is daily life. So, something I see with the couples I work with, especially the young parents that I work with, is that a lot of their conflict happens because daily life is really stressful and they're struggling to manage it. And so, in this section, we're talking about how in daily life, we want to be paying attention to that emotional bank account. We want to pay attention to the mental load. We want to foster intimacy even when it's really hard. In this section, you can teach your couple about how to take breaks in daily arguments, how to repair in daily life. So, all of this, these are the skills that you want them to learn after they've worked through all of the things that they think they're coming to couples therapy for. This is how you're going to help them go out into the world so that they can navigate their life together instead of only relying on you in your weekly sessions to navigate the world. So, let's look at the flip chart because a lot of people wonder, what exactly is a flip chart? Is this just a chart of worksheets? What is it? To me, it reminds me of when I was really little, I liked to play school. I don't know if any of you liked to play school, but my teachers would give me their old teacher's manuals. And my favorite part of the teacher manual was that on one side, it would have a worksheet, and on the other side, it would have everything the teacher was supposed to say and teach. So it was kind of their cheat sheet for what they were going to do that week. And I always loved those so much. And that's essentially what this is. So let's say that we wanted to talk to our couple about the mental load. So you would just go to page 20 and you would find the mental load page. And if you were the couple sitting in front of me, what I would say to you once I got there is I would show you this side. So this is the side that the couple sees. This side is dry erase. And that means that if you want, you can either just show it to them or you could actually hand it to them. This is a really good one to utilize with the dry erase marker and to hand to them. So on this side, this is what they see. While you're explaining what the mental load is to them, you on the other side have a little cheat sheet. And this explains to you what the mental load is. So on the back of this sheet, it says the mental load refers to the invisible and often overwhelming burden of managing numerous tasks, responsibilities, and decisions in daily life. It includes everything from organizing schedules and household chores, remembering important dates, and emotional labor. And it goes on to describe more. If you're working with a couple where there is one partner who is really overburdened with that mental load and they're having a hard time explaining to their partner what it even means, you have all the information on the back to explain it to them. So you have a lot of different points that you can make. You can give them the definition. And then underneath, I give you session guidance. And so this session guidance tells you how you can use this in assessment. So in this, I say that when you're assessing a couple, you should be continually looking at whether or not there are mental load disparities, because this is a huge contributor of resentment. It's a huge contributor of conflict. And sometimes people don't know how to describe what's causing the resentment. And so when you're assessing, you can assess if that's happening. I also give you a tip on how to use it with psychoeducation, how to coach the couples to have empathy for each other and to talk about it. And then I give you an intervention tip. And with every exercise, I give you session guidance, whether it's session guidance about how to use it in assessment or session guidance about how to use it in an intervention. So if you wanted to use this in an intervention with a couple, let's say that this is a couple who you've just taught them about the mental load, but they don't really understand what that means. And what you can do is you can say, I'm going to hand you this sheet, and why don't you take a moment to look over it together? And as you're taking a moment to look over it together, partner A, let's say partner A is Liz. Liz, why don't you put a star next to each of the tasks that you think you carry the mental load for? So remember, anything you feel like you have to remember, keep on your agenda, research, I want you to put a star next to it. And then Andrew, it's my husband's name, why don't you put a circle around each thing that you think you carry? One of the things that can be really powerful with this exercise is the fact that you're bringing something that has probably caused them conflict to life. So they can finally see everything that one person is carrying. Now, some couples, they might see that it feels pretty equitable, and they might look at that and say, I'm really proud of us because we've managed this in a really equitable way. Other couples might finally have one partner feel fully seen. I often experience when I give couples this checklist that one of the partners says, this is the first time I have felt seen because I have put on paper everything that I am keeping in my mind. And it is so exhausting. The other amazing aspect of utilizing this chart is that it might be the first time their partner really understands the burden. So they might understand it, they might have understood it previously in theory, but when they see, oh my gosh, Liz has almost everything starred and I only have one thing circled, it brings it to life and it shows that there's some disparity and inequity in that relationship. And then you can go from there to help them redistribute. So then you can use this sheet in another way where you say, let's look at this together. Things don't need to be completely equal. Things don't need to be completely 50-50, but they need to be fair. So together, can you go through this sheet and decide who's going to take ownership of each thing? And if neither of you can, does it mean that it gets thrown in the trash and you don't do it anymore? Or does it mean that you need to get some help? Does somebody else need to come in and do these things and remember and take accountability and responsibility of them? So you're using it in two ways. One, to help them bring to life and assess what's actually going on. And then two, you're using it to help them redistribute these mental load tasks. So that's just one other example. Let me show you one other page. So another one that you can show to your couples is this fostering intimacy sheet. Again, if you work with couples, you probably know that most of them think intimacy is code word for sex. And a lot of our couples come in and they will say, we don't have good intimacy, we're not having sex. And one thing that they're often missing is that sometimes their sex life is being disrupted because of the other areas of intimacy. And so with this sheet, you can actually show them that there's many types of intimacy: sexual, emotional, intellectual, experiential, spiritual, physical, and that all of these influence each other. And sometimes we have our cup full in one area, but we don't have our cup full in another area. Some of us like one thing, but we don't need the other thing as much. And so this really can help open up a conversation. It's almost like the feelings wheel. You can give it to the couple and you can say, let me talk to you about each area of intimacy. And on the back, you have a guide of how to talk about each area of intimacy. And then you can help them have a conversation about what each of these areas of intimacy means to them, whether or not they feel like it's being filled up for them, whether or not they care for it very much, or maybe it gets filled up somewhere else. So, for example, they might say, I feel in our relationship that we have really good experiential intimacy. We do fun things together, but I don't feel like we have emotional intimacy. And because of that, it's hard for me to be connected with you sexually. This, again, helps to actually open up the conversation so that it's not just about, we're not close, you don't care about me, da 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 da, but it's about pinpointing, this is where I feel close to you, this is where I don't feel close to you. The way you can use this in session is, number one, showing them the different areas of intimacy just to open up their language around it. The second thing you can do is you can give them that dry erase marker and have one partner go through and rate each area of intimacy 1 to 5. A 1 means that they don't think that it's the least ideal that it could be, and a 5 being as ideal as it could be. And then you could have the other partner use a different color dry erase marker and do the same thing. That can help them to see where they match up and then also where they're different. The other thing that you can do is you can have them fill in each area about what fills that piece of the pie up for them. So they could go in and say, for me, emotional intimacy means having really good conversations. The other person might say, emotional intimacy for me is not really having conversations, but it's actually filled up when I feel physically close to you. So you could have them fill those pieces of the pie up. And then lastly, they can always take pictures of these sheets, which is what I do with my clients with flip charts all the time is I have them take a picture and take it home with them so that they can continue to remember all of these different areas or whatever it was that the sheet taught them. The last really cool aspect of the flip chart is that it has a flat bottom. So you can close it or you can use the flat bottom. So with the other flip charts I have, I often leave them open on the top of my bookshelf with a page that I think is really important. I think in the couples therapy flip chart, I might leave this page open because then couples just see it while they're sitting there and it's pretty easy for them to take a glance at it and maybe that sparks some thoughts for them. I have another flip chart that's about trauma and I have that sitting on top with a picture of the brain and how that's impacted by trauma. So you can also just display a page that feels important to your couples in your office. And then whenever you need to use it, you can fold it up, flip to the page that you want to use. And again, you have the page that's for them to look at, to write on, to hold in their hands, to take pictures of. And then you have your page on the back that gives you an explanation of what you can describe to them along with session guidance so that you know how to utilize this in different ways within your sessions. And if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer. But again, I just love this flip chart. I'm excited to use it. It came out today. So it's very exciting to start using it with my own clients. Luckily, I did have it before it came out, and I was already using the mental load checklist a lot with clients. And so, if you are working with couples, if you want to work with couples, I definitely suggest that you pick up a copy of I don't even know where the front of it is. A copy of the couples therapy flip chart. Let me see if I can get to the front. There you go. And you can get that by either using that QR code in the corner or you can go to the PESI website. But if you use the QR code, it's going to take you right to the order page. Thank you so much.